She was there lying, lifeless, naked, her hair pulled off, and people were just watching her. So I told them, it is very unfair to be watching her naked. Anybody with a lasso will just cover her. After 3 days, I was called again by the DCI. And they told me the statements have changed because I may be the prime suspect. So I inquired further and I told them, what is it that you've had? And that's when I was told that there is a rumor, and the rumor is so strong that I came to discover my husband had a relationship with my girl. And I told them, how? Anytime there is a murder, Lynn, it is never easy for the family or the people around, the circle of that family or whoever is involved. Reason being, people come out with so many stories, true or false, they don't want to know. And they don't know the impact that story has on the family or the next of kin to these people.
My people, welcome to today's episode of Tales of Wanjiku. And today we've traveled all the way to Nyeri to meet our guest. And she will be sharing her story. But once again, for me to remind you, words have power. Because you know when you've stayed with your house help for long and then her life comes to a sudden end and the first person that gets accused is you because people are assuming you took her life because your husband had an affair with her. It does something to you psychologically. So today she will be telling us how she's maneuvering after all those accusations. And I have to say thank you so much to White Rhino Hotel here in Nyeri. Me, I'm telling you, LNN people, we find God's favor everywhere. You can imagine in Nyeri and these people, they just allowed us to film in their space. So make sure you check their website. I will pin it there on the comment section. More support. They have nice amenities. Make sure you take a look. Na sasa, acha guest wetu ajiintroduce so that we can get down to the story. Good morning.
Good morning, Lynn.
How are you feeling?
I'm very well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Uko salama kabisa?
Niko salama kabisa.
Yeah.
And hopeful for the 2023 year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Lynn.
You know, we are making resolutions.
True. We have to
Mi nilienda gym siku ya kwanza. I'm out. So I know we make all these resolutions.
True.
What is your biggest one or the change that you want to see in 2023?
The change that I want to see in 2023, number one, is to keep fit, as you have said.
Oh, yeah.
I joined gym last year.
Yes.
Dropped out.
Yeah.
But this year I was so hopeful.
Yeah.
By 3rd of January, I'll hit the gym again, but I'm still hopeful.
Look at us now.
Yes, look at us.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's very rare for me to do a Tales of Wanjiku in such a setup. But you know, we have to travel and come to you people. Because I know, first of all, Nairobi is chaotic.
True.
It's very chaotic for majority of people. So thank you for welcoming us. But even before we go any further, why was it important for you to write to us about this story?
Now, Lynn, that story, since it happened, I've never been able to speak it out. And even for people to know what exactly transpired. Because when the incidents happened, people just came up with their own stories. And the family left us for the issue to handle it.
Yeah.
And then basically I felt that I need to close on that issue this year. Actually, it was one of my resolutions this year, that I need to close. And I need to have closure to that issue in the right way. By number one, telling people exactly what transpired.
Yeah.
so that we can rest the issue and then we'll be able to move on as a family.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want us to humanize your late house help because I know there's that beautiful connection that I know we've done stories of house helps or nannies from hell, but we have amazing ones that do incredible things. So even before you take us through the entire journey, I just remembered I did not let you introduce yourself and your name and what you do. Sorry for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my name is Lydia Nyambura Gikonyo. I'm a nurse by profession.
Yes.
And apart from that, I'm also a mother and a wife. So my house help was called Lynn Ngugi, and she was one lady, I think, from heaven, because she came into my life when I was so young, and I needed somebody to assist me in raising the kids. So that lady was very hardworking, and her connection with the children was out of this world. She's the first person I saw feeding a baby without holding hostage the baby. You know the way we are taught?
Kula.
Meza? No, she was very calm. And in fact, in her eulogy, one of the pictures that I put there was her feeding the baby. It was a very calm way of doing it. You know, sitting the baby, they have a connection and talking, and the baby just feeds easily. Naturally.
Yeah.
So that is one element I loved about her. And the way she connected with my children. In fact, my kids used to say she was their sister.
Yes.
So when they started going to school, because she came when my babies were very young, pretty young, because she came in the year 2006, and that time I had just given birth to my second born. And that time she came, and you know, you are still struggling and wondering, how will I start raising these kids? And you're just in your own world of motherhood and all that. But she made that journey so easy. So number one, what amazed me when she came, it was not about money. Because when I asked her how much that year, back then, she told me she wanted to be paid 2,000. And I told her, hell no, we can't pay you that. It's too little.
Yes.
So we discussed with her and we agreed an amount. And that made me realize she was not just after money. But of course, her background again, she was looking for somewhere she can fit in. And I think our house, she settled in very well. So, and then she was very prayerful. That girl could pray. And then as she grew and matured, she became a church leader, a youth leader, a Sunday school teacher. I mean, she was everything you'd look for in a young lady who is trying to discover and also look for directions of life. So one thing she taught my babies was to read the Bible. At a very tender age, they would read the Bible, I mean, sing songs. By then, when my second born was around 3 years, Henry could sing a song. Tutavua mapambo. That was the song. For him to feed, that was the song.
Oh.
So I really admired that aspect.
Yeah.
And then she took charge of my home. To an extent that when she went, she would go for, they're called what? Off on Sunday.
Yes.
My kids were not feeding. Why? Jockey is nowhere to be seen. So me, I was getting so confused because these babies, they are not used to me. They're used more to her and the connection that they had. Do you know they used to feed in the evening when she comes back? And by the time she's coming back, they're already at the gate to meet her. Because the whole day, I mean, the whole day, the conversations we've had and all that, they had to tell her everything that was happening. So to me, that was very, very wonderful. The other thing I would want to remember about her was her way of cooking. She came to my house very young, very green from the village. I taught her how to cook. And
how old was she when she came?
18.
Oh.
She came to my house when she was 18. So I taught her how to cook. And she took up the art so well, such that my family loved the way she used to cook. You know, even when my brother was traveling from outside the country, he would call and tell Jockey to do that meal for me. You know, they really appreciated her. So we used to live as a family, and I used to count her as one of my own. In fact, I used to call her my daughter. Anytime I would make a trip, maybe outside, I would bring her presents. And that day, what I remember most, when the incidents happened, she was carrying a bag I had brought her from the UK. She was carrying a bag, and she was ever smart. Every Sunday when she was going out, people used to admire her. You know, the way she used to present herself. Ever smart, neat. I had taught her, when you're going out, image is everything.
Yes.
Image is everything.
And feel good about yourself.
Feel good about yourself. In fact, she never used to count herself as a house help. You know, she was ever smart. So that is something that I really, really miss from her. And then she used to relate with the community around. It was excellent. And then she was this kind of a house help. Initially when she came and I'm working, I had to rush back and see what they're doing. And Lynn, I used to get surprised. Very calm in the house, playing with the kids, you know, and they're doing her normal things. It's not this house help when you hit the door and anaekelea mtoto mgongo.
Anajifanya. No.
No, always in the house, doing their things perfectly well. So that was an element that I had not seen. I had not seen it. And I really, really appreciated her for that. I really, really appreciated her for that. And she was very, very accountable. Very accountable. In fact, at one point I told her, she used to come with the offertory from the church. And I told her, Njoki, I think this is so risky. Just make arrangements and know, once you finish with the Sunday issues, where you'll be leaving the money or something like that for your own security reasons. So there are so many things I can highlight about her.
Yeah.
So many things. And she was just so...
Yes. So amazing.
That's so amazing. That girl, that even when she left, it was so difficult for me to fill in that space with somebody else. Because I was looking for those traits that Njoki had. The traits that she had, that is what I was looking for. So even after her demise, it was so difficult to replace her.
Yeah.
And
because how do you replace someone like that?
Yeah. So it was so difficult because she had taken charge of my house, my kids, and even coping was an issue. So what transpired, it was on 29th June 2014. And I remember that time, the kids were on half-term. So she made arrangements. She was this girl who was so organized that even when she knew she had an event, I never used to prevent her from going church events and all that. So she used to know when she has an event, she make arrangements about the kids so that she doesn't inconvenience me, and at the same time, she's not inconvenienced. So on this particular weekend, the kids were on half-term. I was not feeling well. So that Saturday, which was 28th, she organized and she dropped the kids at the Shushu's place because on Sunday she had an engagement and she needed to leave very early in the morning. So she dropped the kids on Saturday, that was 28th. And Sunday, since I was not feeling well, in fact, I didn't even see her. She just locked the gate and dropped the keys and she left. And but before she left, she called me and we had a conversation and she told me the plans for that day. And so I just released her and she left. Now, at around 5, that was Sunday now, 29th, I remembered we had a group meeting that we were going and it was important for us to attend, me and my husband. So I remembered Njoki had not carried the keys. So I had to do her a text. And I told her, please pass by Shushu's place, you pick the kids, and then you'll be dropped in the house. And it was usual for her not to respond to my messages. But I saw the message was delivered. And we went on with our business. We went for the meeting, which took quite a while, and we were going back to the house at around 9. Lynn, to my shock, I found a darkness in the house. So I got so confused because I don't know where she is. And I had even made arrangements where she would collect the keys. So I was like, what could have happened? So I called my mom and asked her, is Njoki there? She told me no. And in fact, now she was starting to get worried because the following day was school. So I told my mom, you do this, just drop the kids and make sure they've taken supper so that when they come, they just sleep. And that's what exactly she did. So we got into the house. I got so confused. I'm calling her. She's not picking. You know, the calls you call several times. She was not answering my calls. Then my husband just joked and said, Njoki alipata bwana. Maybe she'll come to tell you. And I was like, really? Is that how you exit? you know, and the conversations that we used to have. Okay, I brushed the issue off. And I remember it was World Cup time that time. I was not even able to watch the matches. So I told my husband, let me go rest because tomorrow I have an early morning of something I'm not used to, preparing the kids going to school. Lynn, do you know I never slept? The last call I did was 11:45. And that time her phone went mteja. I never slept. I never slept. So 5 a.m. I'm up to prepare the kids. And of course, they're also shocked. Where is Njoki? They can't see her. They're used to her routine and all that. I had trouble preparing those boys for school. I mean, that time, I had trouble preparing them. They're telling me, hatuvalishu hivi, hatufanyi. I told them, today you'll have to do them my style. And then they're also asking me, where is Njoki? Where is Njoki? I told them, you go to school, mtampata jioni. And the boys left. Then my husband was also preparing. That time he had gone back to school. So he was preparing, and I remember he was preparing himself to do the final exams. And I told him, you know, you can't just leave. There's something I was feeling that was making me feel, no, please, niache when you know where she is. And that night, the Sunday night, I had called the auntie and I asked her, have you seen Njoki today? And they told me they only saw her going to church. And so I was like, okay, so those guys, walimuona. Then we went to bed. So that morning, now that is, which was on a Monday, the auntie calls me and tells me, there's a lady being seen somewhere. Please come and go and check whether it is Njoki. Lynn, in my mind, you know, it never clicked. She was talking about somebody who is dead. So I just rushed out. In fact, I just put on a kid dress and a hood and we left. Actually, I was the one who was driving because my husband was delaying, you know. So I picked the car and we left. And just when we were about to get to town, I called the auntie and I told her, I think we need to go with you so that we are together. But along the way, I was just going peeping outside like this to see whether I'll see her. You know, that thought of, asitupatane tu na yeye, we go back home. So we picked the auntie and we proceeded to the place. Lynn, reality dawned on me when I saw a crowd of people. There was a lima we were to climb and then we get to the scene. So when we were down here, I could see people up there. And I'm the one who was driving. So my husband, so I got so confused and he told me, get out, let me drive. So we exchanged seats. So we moved up. And when I looked at people, everybody was looking at me suspiciously. And it had still not clicked in my mind what I was just about to get. So when the aunties, the people, there was one of the aunties again who was there, saw me, they came close to me and they told me, ni Njoki. I was like, what do you mean? Amekufa. Lynn, I just fell. I cried. Then when I composed myself, I told them, take me, I want to see her. I want to confirm and make sure it is her.
What was the distance between your home and where they found her?
About an hour's drive. About an hour's drive. Lynn, what shocked me, she was there lying, lifeless, naked, her hair pulled off. And people were just watching her. So I told them, it is very unfair to be watching her naked. Anybody with a lasso will just cover her. So I had a conversation with her. You know that you talk to a lifeless body. And I told her, how would you go like just like this? Who did this to you? You know, undressing you, pulling off your hair. So the police came, they did their preliminary. Wakahoji 2 people who were there. And then they picked the body and took it to the morgue. And we followed the police car to the morgue, and we ensured she has been kept well. And we went home. My mind was blank, Lynn. I could not understand how somebody or people can be so inhuman to such an innocent soul. You know, I had so many things going on in my mind. What exactly transpired? And Lynn, that was the beginning of a journey of torture and trauma. Because having stayed with that girl for 8 years, the whole responsibility was on us as a family, which we took up gladly, because having stayed with somebody for 8 years,
they become a part of you.
They become a part of us. So we started preparing the burial. And of course, amidst so many things that were going on, a post-mortem that we never got to know the outcome. But we witnessed, me and my husband witnessed the post-mortem. And of course, one of the findings that we got to know there was that she was strangled and then she was raped. But we never got the final report, pathologist report. So fortunately, our friends and family came through, and we financed the whole process. The bills and everything. We took care of everything.
At this point, what is her side of the family saying? Because you have to communicate to each other, you're organizing the burial. What is their response and what are they saying?
There was no much that was coming from the family. Because number one, I think they were also in darkness, my thinking. But the support was very minimal from their end. So we had to basically do everything. And at that point, we were not so much into the police. You know, of course, when a case is taken up by the police, now you leave it to them to continue with the investigations and all that. So we laid her to rest, I think either on 4th or 5th. I can't remember the exact date. And after we laid her to rest, that's when the story started, Lynn. And of course, we had to be called by the DCI. We record statements of what transpired before she left the house and all that. So we gave our statements as they were, and very innocently. Then after 3 days, I was called again by the DCI. And they told me the statements have changed because I may be the prime suspect. And I asked, the prime suspect, how? You know, I was shocked. That was the last thing I was expecting to hear. And they told me I have to record a statement again. And I told them my statement will not change. It is what I gave you, it's still what it is. So I inquired further and I told them, what is it that you've had? And that's when I was told that there is a rumor, and the rumor is so strong that I came to discover my husband had a relationship with my girl. And I told them, how? That can't even be possible. Because Lynn, since I got married, my husband has been working outside the county. We came to stay together 2015. Because that time he was Embu, Isiolo, then he went back to school. So there's he used to come over the weekends and go back. So in my mind, I was trying to think, how would I even eliminate somebody? How does it happen, you know? And I was shocked. So they told them, I told them, really? Okay, just investigate. Look at where I was before then. Look at the communication we had previously and all that. And of course, I have nothing to fear because I know I'm innocent. Then from there were so many other rumors. Jockey had refused to get married. There was somebody who had been paid dowry. There were all sorts of rumors and stories. In fact, I remember one time somebody stopped me in town and told me, wewe, niwe msichana wako aliuawa? And I was like, that is so crude. You know, you can't just stop somebody and kwa street unamuuliza, niwe msichana wako aliuawa? And I was like, this trauma is just out of this world.
Yeah.
So the DCI did quite a number of investigations, reports, calling us every other time. We have this new lead, and then it hits a dead end, and it was trauma after trauma. Lynn, I remember after that burial, I was unable to stay in the house alone. I had nightmares. In fact, there's a seat I could see, and I see Njoki kwa dirisha akituchungulia. So I was telling my husband, I think you can't leave me. Do you know he had to postpone his exams to stay with us for 1 month? 1 month, just to be able to cope and all that. And one of the things I can tell you, Lynn, out of all that, we had nothing. No conclusion to the investigation, nothing. After about a year, we were called and told they want to do, it's called an inquest, I don't know. And we have to record statements again. That was another opening of fresh wounds, Lynn. The moment I got a summon to go to the court and testify, that morning, Lynn, my stomach was just rumbling, bringing back those memories and all that transpired. It was the hardest time for me. The 1 hour I stayed in court, I think I had loose stools like 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
Just the trauma. My stomach is the one that was reacting to all that. And of course, what followed now is even the kids coping, adjusting. My other boy who had given birth the year 2020 was the hardest. He had the hardest time to cope. Because every other time alikuwa ananiambia, "Mom, tupeleke Njoki torch. Wacho tulimwacha kwa shimo. We need to take to her a torch." So we had to make him understand that Njoki will not come back. And he had time adjusting. Even the lifestyle he was used to, the feeding system, somebody who is very concerned about babies and all that. And Lynn, I can tell you, she's one girl, even when she was away, she could call me to ask me, "Watoto wako aje? Wamekula?" That's somebody you would know has your kids at
Best
heart. Best interest. She's one girl who could tell you, "Wacha nikimbie nyumbani, niangalie watoto." That's a very rare character to get in these house helps that we get. But she was one person, "Wacha nikimbie nyumbani, niangalie vile watoto wako. Let me rush. I have to prepare something before the kids get out of school." She was that kind of a person. So making these kids understand, it was trauma and grief for everybody. Everybody in the home. But with time, the kids adjusted. But for me to move on, and in terms of house helps and all that, it was so difficult. And Lynn, I can tell you, there's one girl who came to look for a job. Because, of course, word went out. I had stayed with this girl for 8 years and all that. So everybody were looking for that opportunity to be employed. So there's one girl who came and knocked at my door, and she told me she's looking for a job. And I asked her, "You are called who?" "Njoki." I told her, "Sorry, no, not at this point." The mention of that name made me turn her down. And I told her, "Not now. I am okay the way I am right now." But I can tell you, after the death of Njoki, I think I had like 3 or 4 house helps. Kwangu kulikuwa kuna kaa hidro. Come, take off. Come, take off. I was looking for those characters in Njoki. But I could not get them. She was the kind of a girl, even when she goes away, I'm not able to trace anything in the kitchen because she has her way of doing things. She was that person who I could call her, "Ai, Njoki kichungi iko happy. I can't get it in this house." She had taken charge of that home. So it was difficult, very, very difficult. And even now, I can't tell you that I've coped. Ile ya kusema, it is something that I've put behind my... No, every time that story comes into my mind. And in fact, I just unfriended her from Facebook.
Why?
Beginning of this year. The memories and the reminders. Every 30th of June, I have to get a reminder. Because I did a post when she died. That is 30th June, when we discovered her in the coffee plantations. So that reminder, I was looking for a way to close this issue and feel now I need to move on. But of course, I don't think I can ever forget her completely. And one thing that made me wonder what Njoki was thinking the year 2014, January of 2014, she did us a calendar, 2014 calendar, And up there she had her photos, very nice photos, posing and all that. And she printed a whole big calendar. And she came to my house and told me, Mama, hii calendar isitoke hapa. And she put it on the wall. So when she passed on, I was looking at those things and wondering, what was she thinking? You know, did she have a premonition or what? Because why would you tell us this calendar isiwahi toka hapa? And we had to do that. That calendar ilitoka after she passed on and all that. So when we did the burial and all that, I had to release her things to the family. Because number one, I wanted them to know that this is a relationship I had with this girl and it has been cut short. So after the burial, I called the family and I told them to come, all of them, the mother, the father, and all that, and the sisters, the siblings. And Lynn, one thing I had done, I had really invested in this girl. You know, a sharp girl whose dreams were cut short because there was no money to take her to school. And I realized that potential. She was one girl who could sit my kids down and do homework, even in my absence. I was that comfortable. I'll find my kids have done homework, they've showered, they've fed, and by 8 they're in bed. That was the routine. So when the kids went to school, all of them, and now she was being left at home, I told her, Jockey, what is it that you can do? Would you want to go back to school? See, there are these guys who go to school and they even sit for KCPE.
Yes.
So we deliberated on that issue and she told me, Mama, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. Just get me a course I would do and I'll be very comfortable. I asked her, what is it that you want to do? She told me she wanted to do computer. And I enrolled her in a computer school. So after she finished, I remember when I was, I had a young kid and I was in school and there were exams I had to type and present. She's the one who did for me. The modules I did for the final exams, Jockey is the one who typed for me. Mine was just proofreading and I tell her they're okay, go to my email and submit. She was that sharp. So after she did computer, I told her, I don't think this is giving you justice.
Yes.
You are more than this. So she looked around and we discussed about secretarial and she told me, you know, I don't think I want to go outside this home because my plan is to leave this home when these boys are big and dependent people and they're all that. So I asked her, what is it that you want to do? She told me, you know, I always see you dashing out with clothes for repair and all that. Why don't I do tailoring? And I told her, excellent, that's a good idea. And the next minute she was in class. So what she used to do, wake up in the morning, prepare the kids, go to school, tidy up the house, and she leaves. She goes to class and by 3, she's back very fast to the house, back in the house, prepares meals so that by the time the kids are coming, they find her in the house. So after she finished the course, we decided to buy her a machine. So she was doing her work in the house. And that was the latest course she had done. So she had started now, even we were looking at a way we can get her materials, you know, she can start practicing and all that. But the dream was cut short. It was cut short like that. So she's one girl I had really invested in because I had seen her potential.
Thank you.
And I didn't mention that girl was a farmer. My small piece of kitchen garden, Lynn, she told me, we have to utilize this small piece of portion we have. And I told her, what is it that you are thinking about? We should not be buying skuma wikis when we have a piece. And I told her, go ahead. Panda. And we did her a greenhouse, a small greenhouse. And she told me we are going to plant nyanyas in this greenhouse. So I think I bought like 50 seedlings of nyanyas, which we did there. And Lynn, do you know, we harvested nyanyas, we sold, and we had our own surplus. So by the time she was coming to die, there were cabbages. That were the, and we were asking her, kwani hizi vitu nakula lini? Anasema gojeni. Bado. And little did we know that we were not even to enjoy that with her. That is how she went. She was also keeping chicken. She was that active. She had made me now see the potential in her, and I had a number of chicken in that house. And after she died, Lynn, I could not continue with that project. I slaughtered chicken and gave out people I was just dishing out chicken. Unataka kuku? Shika. Shika. And I finished that project and that was the end of it. So the whole of that story teaches me that we have good house helps. They're still there. It depends with the relationship that you have with these girls. I remember one time when I was expectant and she was massaging my legs, you know, cleaning my legs, juicy jifiki. And she could tell me, come, I scrub you, need to go to hospital when you are clean, you know, that kind of a person. She was a sister to me. And she would tell me, Mama, your bedroom looks shaggy. Pulls out all my clothes. Anazipanga ananiambia, this is what I know you wear. Easy amvai, easy, you know, sorting out kids' clothes. What gets small? Anatoa kila kitu. So for me to replace her was a hard task because I was looking for those traits and I could not get them. Until I talked to somebody and she told me, you know, Lydia, you have to move on. You have to move on and give somebody an opportunity. Because as much as we are looking for Njoki's traits in other girls, utawaipata. And you really, really struggle and you need to move on. And Lynn, I can tell you, it was not easy. It was not easy.
Allow me to take you just a bit back
to
the family part. When you called them to come and give the items, how was that like?
Now, when the family came to collect the items, I cooked for them very well. And I prepared Njoki's items, put them in a suitcase, and her June salary, I also put it in an envelope. And I gave the family. And because of the rumors that were going on, I think I gave them a parting short message and I told them, anybody, including me, if any one of us was involved in these incidents, may the God in heaven revenge. Even if it is me, even if it is me, even if it is you, Mama Njoki, anybody, you know something and you are keeping quiet, may the God in heaven is watching. Because I had had a conversation with the mother. And when we looked at the conversation, the Safaricom conversation, I came to discover the mother was the last person who spoke to Njoki. So I kept on asking her, what is it that you spoke with her? Some minutes to 7, just before she answered. No, there's no other call she answered after 7. So I was trying to ask the mother, what is it that you spoke with her? So I wanted to tell them that anybody who is involved in this issue and you are keeping quiet, may the God in heaven see us, all of us, and punish us accordingly. Punish us accordingly. And maybe something that I didn't mention, after her death, because of the stories and the people who are with her last were giving, I really wanted to understand that concept. Because they were saying Njoki had gone to a church outside where she goes. And she was in the company of either 2 or 3 more people. And they say they parted ways with Njoki around 7 and she walked. And Lynn, the distance we are being told Njoki walked, it was impossible. In between coffee plantations and tea plantations, a girl alone, 7. So I told the DCI, please escort me to the scene. Number 1, I visit the scene again, and then we go practically to that church they were in so that I also understand and, you know, piece that information together. So when we went to that scene where we found Njoki, that day when we went to identify her, you could see some struggle on the ground. You know, pali kuna commotion, wezi shindwa, there was some commotion, and then there was a big tree. Then, do you know, I spoke to that tree. And I told that tree, probably you are the only people who saw that this tree, you could be the only person with what exactly transpired. And it was so emotional. Then we went to the church. I looked at the grounds where they were saying, we parted ways, sisi tukaenda hivi, nyinyi mkaenda hivi. And of course, we're in the company of the DCI. And out of all that, nothing, no justice. Even after the inquests, we never got a report. I don't even know what transpired. We don't even have a report. Many people recorded statements, but there was no transparency. You could not even tell what exactly are they finding out. And the story just died off like that.
Just like many others.
Just like many others. And just as you said, justice in Kenya is a comedy. a real comedy, you know. Ile unakaa chini hivi unaiangalia wakikuchezea and you'll never get to know what they're investigating.
Do you talk to the family to find out whether they were given any report?
No, I don't, because number one, I wanted to cut ties completely for my own sake and for my own security reasons. I had to cut that communication completely. So apart from the times we met in the court, I cut off that communication. Yes.
I want to touch on your husband a bit because, again, the night of the murder, you are with your husband.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there are people who saw you and your husband together since you had gone for a group function, right?
Yeah.
But this is someone who is also being accused of having had an affair with your house helper. What was his reaction? And also, because I know men, they can act as if it's okay, ni semeni, but it's okay, but si kufanya, but it affects him also to know that this is my wife and someone is saying I had an affair with our house help. How was his reaction towards Njoki's death and how is he right now?
Lynn, let me tell you, if there's somebody who was affected by that death, was my husband. I would not say he acted strong because at that point he was so weak and down. And I think I'm even the one who was consoling him at that particular point. Then when that rumor came, he was equally shocked. Well, he didn't take it lightly and neither did he brush it off. Because we just agreed, why don't we let the DCI do their thing and investigate the whole thing? And if either of us is guilty, then justice should prevail. So I would say he was really, really affected. And even after, as I had told you, he was not able to go back to school. It took him a month to resume. And that meant he had to complete school the following year. So you can imagine the impact it had on him. So I would say he had a difficult time. A difficult time. Two, even the community and our neighbors who were hearing that kind of a rumor, they knew the day before you were together simply because we were in a group gathering. And I really thank that group because they came in for us. They stood with us. They took us the burial. They helped us in preparation and all that. So I really salute that group because it's a group of friends, families that we are neighbors and we hold each other during times of happiness, you know, and deaths and all that. So I really appreciate them because they stood with us, talked to us, you know, and told us to close our ears. Because, Lynn, there were so many theories in this town. Every other day I was hearing a story. Every other day I was hearing a story. Including a story I heard that Njoki had traveled to Naivasha. And I was asking myself, kwani kulikuwa na Njoki mwingine? Apart from huyu nilikuwa najua because Njoki was always in my house, apart from Sunday. And that's a theory we tried to follow up with. Even with my husband we were discussing. And we were saying Njoki was away only on Sundays. And at one point we were actually joking and saying, okay, if she could even travel to Naivasha, then her Sundays were very short. Her Sundays must have been very short. Because you can't imagine, somebody who has left the house at 8 and 6, 7, she's back in the house. So there were all sorts of theories. She had refused to get married. Somebody had been paid dowry. You know, all those kind of theories.
Did anyone investigate the person who said they had paid dowry? Because then, did anyone ever maybe do 1, 2, 3 on the same? And is it true someone had paid her dowry?
Now, I think those were just rumors and the stories people, you know, when a murder happens, people come up with their own issues and trying to, you know, piece up information and all that. So I don't think it's something the DCI
we become CSI.
Yeah, we become CSIs in our own way and even condemning. In fact, we condemn, we judge, and dehumanize people completely. We even jail. We even jail. That's how the society is. So I don't think it's something they capitalized. But again, as I say, we never even got to know the findings of this case. And but however, I would not really want to invest my energy going back to digging that story of justice. I decided to let the story rest at that. The day they'll feel they want to follow up that issue, well and good. Let them do it. But I don't want it to be my own initiative. It really drained me, Lynn. It really drained me.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because usually it's you're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
But I have had stories where, and I've covered stories where you are guilty until proven innocent. We have a lot of cases where you say that someone will be like, the authorities, they tortured me. They did not give me enough space for me to tell my side of the story. How was your experience at the hands of the authorities, the people who handled your case, the DCI and anyone else involved? How would you say they treated you? And it's okay still not to want to comment on the same.
Well, Lynn, I think finding myself in and out of police station was one thing that I was not used to. And maybe as anybody else, I was so scared of police station. And anytime I was called there, it was not one of the best moments to be there. Number one, I would say, the investigating officers, well, they were doing their job, but I didn't see their transparency. Because every other time calling us and giving us one theory, then the next minute they tell us the direction has changed, we are going this way, and then just dropping us. Because I was expecting that somebody ought to have called us and brief us and tell us this and this is what transpired. And to me, I would say, I don't think we got the correct handling. We were not handled the right way. Because somebody, our systems, the DCIs and all that, they ought to have given us an opportunity and even to know what exactly came out of their investigations, and handling us in the right way. Because at one point I realized these DCIs are just joking around with us. And I told them, please don't call me here anymore. Because the more you call us here, the more you are traumatizing us. Giving us different theories, and you are the people with authority. I mean, you have all the capability to piece up this information. Anytime there is a murder, Lynn, it is never easy for the family or the people around, the circle of that family or whoever is involved. Reason being, people come out with so many stories, true or false, they don't want to know. And they don't know the impact that story has on the family or the next of kin to these people. It is very, very unfair to come up with theories, people who are grieving. And I think it's a high time our society learn. We need not to condemn. Let justice prevail. Let the authorities do their work. Why condemn somebody? Why spread rumors? Why hurt people's emotions? It was really not good. Not good at all.
How have you dealt with the trauma?
Well, trauma, I've dealt with it in this way. Number one, not to look for those traits Njoki had in other people. I think that way it made me give somebody else an opportunity to work for me. And I found it easier for me and even the kids so that they're able to adjust. Though it was not easy. Two, I decided not to talk about that story. And anytime I mention that story, even my friends know, I get so emotional. So I decided I'll not be talking about that story anymore. Three, I decided it's not me to follow justice. Let the due course take its process. If it is, they'll call us and tell us, this is what we've decided. This is the people we are going to prosecute. I have no problem, but it is not me to invest my energy there. Because it was really, really draining me. Draining in terms of mentally, physically, you can't even think. Even performance-wise at work, very low. So I decided it is not me. And I decided that story, I'll not talk about it until the day I'll be ready to heal, close it, and move on with life.
Why talk about it now?
One, I wanted total closure of that story. And I wanted people to know exactly what transpired, what went out, what hurt us, and how we were able to cope, basically. So that's why I felt it is good I share out the story. And just to advise our society, the moment you see a murder, it is never easy for the dead and for the family revolving. Because you talk about so many things, what you know and what you don't know. And whoever said before you speak ask yourself whether it is true, was very right. Because you don't know what you are talking about. What impact does it have to the people revolving around that murder? Yes.
That's powerful.
Yes.
And for me, it's just the positive part of knowing we have good nannies and good house managers out there. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Knowing at least there's someone willing to take care of you and your family and not see it as a burden.
Yeah.
See it as an experience in life to advance and learn and become a better version of themselves. That's nice. What do you most remember Njoki for?
Now, I remember Njoki because of her characters. Hardworking, prayerful, very good in children, committed. You know, that person who had a vision. I remember there's one time she told me when she'll be doing a wedding. In fact, we had a wedding in our mind, how it will be.
Yes.
My boys were to be the page boys, and she was always praying we get a good, nice car because we are the ones who will drive her. You know, she had a whole vision about her life. And she was saying she's not just about to get married in a hurry. She was planning her process very well. And then she was telling me we are the people who will be representing her as her family because we know her very well. So those are the kind of memories that I remember. And I treasure her. I treasure her. Even where she's resting and I know she's at peace, I know she remembers us.
Yes, and that's important.
Yes, and that's important. Our children,
Yes.
they've never forgotten her.
Oh, yeah. 9 years later.
Yes, I remember when she passed on, there were songs I was playing in my car all that time. And every time my sons hear those songs, they tell me, Mom, please, those songs are associated with Njoki. They just bring back those memories. In fact, there's a time you will see we just switch off, you know, that kind of music because it brings back those memories. So I remember her for being that caring person. That person, even when you're away, she will call you and ask you, Mama, how are you? That's very
Rare.
A house help to call you and ask you, how are you? It is the other way around. It is you calling them and asking them, Mkoaje, how are you? Watoto wako aje?
Yes.
And then sometimes she's even used to carry my kids to go to church with them. So I feel like she impacted, she had an impact on my children when they are very young.
A great
something
foundation.
that I forgot to mention. Njoki taught my children Kikuyu. My kids speak fluent Kikuyu. Fluent. Even when I was taking them to school, my sons were shouting Kikuyu. And I told the teacher, we've done our job. Teach them English and Kiswahili.
Yes.
And they've never forgotten Kikuyu.
Oh, yeah.
That is something I really, really thank her for.
Mm.
Because she told me, why are we teaching them Kiswahili? I communicate in Kikuyu. Let them know the Kikuyu language.
And she took her time.
She took her
That
time.
one would have made a good teacher.
She took her time. Then she taught me that you don't have to strangle a kid. Kula na mwiko na nini. You know, she was very calm. Compost ananiambia, akikata kukula achana na yeye.
Atakula akijisikia.
Atakula akijisikia. And that is something I adopted from her. Me, if you refuse to eat in my house, I'll never force you. I'll never follow you up with a mwiko. Take your time.
Eat when you are ready.
Eat when you are ready.
Powerful.
So those are characters that she instilled in us that still live with us. Yes.
Of course, deeply sorry for what you went through. I know as much as the family lost their daughter, you also lost a friend. Because clearly you guys had become more than friends.
Yeah.
You also lost a family member. And you said something important. She's at peace.
Yeah.
And she still remembers you guys. And I just hope the society can learn. I feel like we are at an age where we throw words around.
True.
Accusations around. And I see that even in social media. God, and that's why I dread social media. Because one day you wake up and someone has said something nasty about you. And for me, I always tell God to continue giving me the grace to never fight back. You know, never feel the need to reply or vindicate myself. And I don't know if everyone is that strong to wake up in the morning and people are saying sorry all these nasty things about you, and how do you survive? Some people end up even taking their own lives.
True.
Because someone somewhere, a complete stranger with free access to Wi-Fi on their keyboard, decided to say something nasty about you, and you did not have the strength to fight. So I hope the society can also learn. And, you know, may God continue resting her soul in eternal peace. And I wish you a lot of healing also.
Thank you.
You don't get to forget such people easily. Wish you a lot of healing. But even as we wind up, there are people who will be watching this. And as I've said, words have been spoken about them, and they don't know what to do about it. Looking at that camera, what would you want them to know? What would you tell them to encourage them?
Number one, I would want to tell the society and the people outside there, let's be mindful of one another. Whatever that you speak out, it has positive or negative impact on somebody. So before you open your mouth and say something or type something, ask yourself, is it necessary and is it true? And what impact will it have? Let's support the people who are affected by such issues, because in one way or another, they've lost somebody, an important part of their life. Let's hold hands and support one another, rather than throwing words, words that are hurting, words that you keep remembering, and you have a negative attitude towards somebody simply because you said a word or two that are forever embedded in our hearts. So let's be mindful.
Yeah.
Let's be mindful and be our brother's keeper. Be that person who is an encourager, rather than bringing down somebody, and when you are at your weakest, you are trying to bring them down. Yes.
Yeah, lovely. My people will always be, I want to talk to Lydia. How can I find her? So do you have a way people can find you? The one that you that you feel most free to give out, even if it's an email.
Yes, I can give out my number, 0720-360-163.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Shall we wind up?
Yes.
Yes. More healing.
Yes.
And more grace to you. 2023, we are still strong.
Oh, yes.
Gym lazima.
Gym lazima.
I know me and 1,000 other people who have told ourselves gym lazima.
Gym lazima.
We are many. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. My take home is just one thing. Before you say anything, ask yourself. Don't even ask whether it's necessary. Just ask yourself, is it true? Honestly, is it true? That's my take home. And I've said multiple times in this platform that words have power. And we should and must be cautious about the things that we throw around. And I hope, as you all know, this year we are rebuilding, and it's taken you 9 years to share your story.
Yeah.
We don't take it for granted that you chose our platform to do that. And I hope there's a lesson somewhere for each and every one of us. And if you want to reach out to Lydia, just to talk to her about anything, her contact details are right here on the screen. And if you want to share your story with us, we do have an email, info@lnn.digital. Send a summary of your story, and I could be in your town on the next episode of Tales of Wanjiku. Hey, the way you guys, you're happy Tales of Wanjiku is back. Yeah, let's do it, as we look forward to taking another break in April, and then we will still come back. Sinisawa. Yeah, thank you for watching. My name is Lynn Ngugi. And again, just to say thank you to White Rhino Hotel for allowing us to come and film in their space. We appreciate. Check them. Their website is pinned on the comment section below, and also let them know that we appreciate them just letting us come here and feel at home. Till next time, peace.